day, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to my podcast titled Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. I am your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley Mayo, and it's a pleasure to be here today on this podcast. We have a special guest. But you know what? Before we start, I want to make sure my listeners, many of them are aware of what this podcast is about, but I have some new listeners, somebody's telling me. And I just want to share with you that this podcast is about individuals who are ready. I mean, really ready to move forward in their lives. They want to overcome obstacles, they want to mitigate these self imposed limiting belief barriers that's preventing them from living their best life. And we talk about topics related to business and personal development. And we also talk about topics related to self improvement. And I have a guest today that I'd like to introduce you, and I'm going to welcome her to the stage. Good day, Laura. Mangum Broome. Welcome to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast.
Thank you, Cassandra. It's a joy to be here.
Yes. Now, listeners and Laura, what I'm going to do is I want my listeners to get to know you a bit, what you've been through, what your story is. So I'm going to read your bio. And also, I'm going to introduce our topic for today. And the topic is 3 steps to flourishing after adversity. Now, there are 3 steps now of to flourishing after adversity. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait to hear what they are. Laura Mangum Broome embodies resilience and transformation. Her journey marked by breast cancer, the heartbreaking loss of her oldest son, her life-saving heart transplant, and a sudden divorce after 27 years of marriage showcases the human ability to triumph over adversity. She created the I Hope to Hope 3 step resilience framework to help others conquer their fear of change, find new purpose, and rediscover joy. Her upcoming book, Flourishing After Adversity, a 3 step action plan to transform pain into purpose and embrace joy again. It teaches the same resilience skills Laura used to experience positive growth while starting her life over at the age of 58. Laura thrives in South Texas with her family, a testament to the remarkable strength and resilience. Wow, Laura. My first comment to you is your bio actually depicts the journey that has led you to do the work to transform pain into purpose. And what I want to know, and become a resilience coach. So some people can do this, what you've done, and others cannot. So what is it about you that gives you the bandwidth to do so? What is it about you with all that adversity?
I just don't give up. um, I have gone through a lot of things, especially in the last few years. Um, but I've realized there's so many other people who have been through such worse circumstances than I have, and
Mm-hmm.
they made it through. And I've always been fascinated by
Mm-hmm.
how did they do it? Because I do have a family and friends, and I'm still young. And
Yeah.
one day it just kind of hit me, adversity can make me bitter or better.
Yes.
And I'm too young to be bitter. I mean, even though
Yeah.
I'm in my, early 60s, I still feel like I'm in my 40s. And,
Sure.
and I realized I, especially, telling a little bit about my story after the heart transplant, I realized I have a second chance at life.
Mm-hmm.
And not too many people get that opportunity. And my life just, at that time, 3 years ago during COVID, my life turned upside down, and I was
Mm-hmm.
very devastated. But I have an older son who just got married this summer, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's my past. I need to live in the present and enjoy the future. And so I realized everybody kept telling me, gosh, I can't believe you've been through all this stuff.
Mhm.
How did you do it? And that kind of led me to realize, what am I going to do starting over again? I have to find a way to make a living and keep moving on. And I thought, well, I'm my superpower is resilience, and
Yeah.
do it other people can. So I just want to share my message of hope with others,
Yeah.
so that they can want to find new meaning and purpose, and
Okay.
so they can flourish. It's a wonderful feeling to experience joy again in
Sure.
life.
Absolutely. I can imagine. Laura, I'd like to know your backstory a little bit. And the reason I like to know that because the resilience came from something. Do you think anything in your backstory as you were growing up or um, enabled
Mm.
you to be how you are and where not where you are today, but just that resilience? Like, tell us a little bit about that because I always say our childhood has a lot to do with our adulthood. So tell us a little bit about your backstory.
That's true. When I was 10, I was having a lot of ear problems, earaches. And so they
Hmm.
had taken my tonsils out, and I was still having issues. So they decided to put tubes in my ears. And so I had two operations, one to put the tubes in and one to take it out. And it
Hmm.
came time for another surgery to put the tubes in. Well, I had an adverse reaction to the anesthesia,
Mm.
and my temperature rose very high.
Hmm.
And so they gave me a muscle relaxant, and I happened to be allergic to that.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah,
Okay.
it
Hmm.
and so basically it put me into a coma. And
Oh,
so the
okay.
doctors had told my parents, she's in a coma, and there's a very slight chance she'll come out of it. And if she
Mm.
does, she most likely will have brain damage.
Oh my goodness.
And
Okay.
so,
Mhm.
because of our family's weird sense of humor, whenever I get to that point in the story, the joke is, well, now you see she came out of the coma, and she's not right. But I can laugh about it now. But I did come out of the coma after 24 hours,
Okay.
and my because of my muscles had constricted, I had to go through physical therapy to loosen my muscles. And at that
Mhm.
time, it all I wanted to do was get home so I could be around my friends and go play. So
Yeah.
I had no idea what that situation put my parents through.
Yeah.
Almost losing a child. And
Mm.
but I have a hole in my eardrum that's about the size, a little bit bigger than a quarter, that
Mhm.
surgery cannot um, stitch up. And so I've just learned to live with the hearing loss in that ear, and I just
Okay.
use, uh, um, just a what do you call it? Just like a ear
Yeah.
stop to.
Hearing aid.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I don't wear a hearing aid. I can compensate for that, but I think just it didn't it didn't really make impact my life that much at age
Okay.
10. It was something I
Okay.
went through, but it didn't define me. And
Okay.
throughout over the years, I've just kind of I've always gone through
Mhm.
challenges, nothing to what I've gone through over the past few years,
Yeah.
but it's just something that I've always worked through the feelings, which
Okay.
I think is very important when you're going through
Yeah.
challenges. Work through those feelings, and you just have to move on.
Okay.
And I've learned to develop a growth mindset, which is basically you focus on the journey instead of the outcome.
Mm.
And so a fixed mindset will focuses on the outcome. So you're either successful or you failed at reaching the outcome. But a growth
Mhm.
mindset allows you to focus on the journey
Okay.
and be flexible.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So,
I appreciate you sharing that because I'm like, now where did all of this come from? This resilience and like I said, a lot has to do with your childhood too, based on what you've been through and the strength that you endured, even not knowing what your parents had gone through, but you were like, hey,
mm,
I'm going to endure this and it's going to be okay. So, okay. Now, knowing your work was and still is in process, I'd like to know what was life like looking like for you? Like let's look back a little bit. Okay, the cancer, the transplant, your son. How did you get through that? I understand the resilience, but there's a you
mhm,
talked about what are the steps looking back that got you where you are today?
mhm. Um, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015, we had my husband, I was married at the time. My husband and I had started a business. So we were just a couple
Right.
of years into a business when I was diagnosed, and I ran the operations side of it and trained our employees. And so it wasn't a convenient time to go through breast cancer,
Right.
but um, I have, as a Christian, I have a very strong faith, and a lot of it has my faith becomes stronger through the challenges I've gone through.
Okay.
And so when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, as soon as I heard the oncologist say it's curable, I was just like, thank goodness, just tell me what I
Mhm.
need to do and I'll do it. Um, so I was able to take half treatments for a longer period of time so that I could continue uh, going to work and just having my normal routine and resting in the evenings after my treatment. So
Wow.
when my treatments finished on December 31st, it was a fantastic New Year's,
Mhm.
and uh, and so I was getting ready for the next journey after the chemo treatments, and 3 months later is when my son died by
Mhm.
suicide.
Mm.
And I was in the hospital at the time getting ready for a double mastectomy
Mm.
when that happened, and uh, and I was just kind of in shock. So the nurses wanted to know if I wanted to postpone the surgery, and I was dreading it so much anyway. And so I decided, no, just continue on with the surgery.
Okay.
That at least we can move forward with that. But um, we had our pastor and his wife came to visit us. They had experienced the same situation a few years prior to this, and they were such a comfort to talk to understand what we were going through. And
Mhm.
I realized, as a Christian, I have to believe everything in the Bible is true, and
Yeah.
so I know I'm going to see my son again, and 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 whatever he was going through, I knew he wasn't suffering anymore. And
Mhm.
I wanted him to be here with me, but you get to the point where you have to accept the situation. And I
Mhm.
think that's the hardest thing when you're going through grief or going through tough times is
Mhm.
you don't have to like it. You just have to acknowledge it and accept it and process your feelings so you can move forward. And again, I had to make that choice. Is this going to make me bitter, or is it going to make me better? And I we had adopted our son from Russia when he was 10 years old,
Okay.
and he was 3 months older than our other son, and they were very close. And so when he died, I decided I want to honor his memory somehow. And so shortly after that, about maybe within the year after he died, I became a mentor with a foster youth organization that helped transition foster youth out of the foster care system into living on their own.
Okay.
And because when our son died, he was 19. And so he was just getting ready to go out on his own. And so I felt like at least this way I was honoring his memory
Right.
by helping other youth.
Wow, that's amazing. What a story. Let me ask you, what can one do to stop this negative thinking? Like you've had opportunities to, those negative thoughts that can consume one's day. What can one do to stop that?
Well, I got to practice on myself, and because it is the rumination, that's where the pain turns into suffering, and if you stay in that suffering stage too long, you begin to feel helpless and
Mm-hmm.
hopeless,
Mm-hmm.
and so what I had to do is. Um, when you're in that negative state, all you think about is I can't do this, or you just focus on the negative things that are out of your control.
Right.
And so what I suggest doing is focus on what you can do. um, I love the serenity prayer, and I used to have little plaques and frames, and I was always giving them out to my friends because I thought it's so comforting. God grant me
Mhm.
the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the
Mhm.
wisdom to know the difference. And that's basically what I did to start my
Oh,
life over. Is I had to focus on what I can do, not what I can't do, because at the
okay.
time, it's COVID, everything was shut down. I had my heart transplant. I had to
Yeah.
quarantine for a year, going through a divorce too.
Yeah.
Things were really out of my control.
Right. Exactly. Wow. That's a testament to your faith.
It is. God, I have so many testimonies of what he did during that time. But I would say, you have to focus on what you can do to move
Right.
forward.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. And that's what I tell other people to do.
Okay. Tell us about I Cope to Hope three-step resilience framework. What
Mhm.
that's a framework. Where did that come from? And what are those three steps?
That came from my situation 3 years ago.
Mm, okay.
I had a successful heart transplant, and that was one of my testimonies that God truly took care of me during that. It was unexpected. I was diagnosed in January of 2020 that I would
Mm,
need a heart transplant, because the chemo treatments had damaged my heart, and actually it triggered a genetic marker for congestive heart failure.
mhm,
And I have a twin sister who who had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, but when I got it too, our cardiologist said there's something more to just you two happening to both have congestive heart failure. The fact that you're twins might mean it's genetic. So
yeah.
that led to being diagnosed with needing a heart transplant. And um, and
Mm,
so God found me a heart in 6 days,
mm,
and it was a perfect match. And when I woke up from the surgery, I had no pain.
wow.
I mean, it was just truly a miracle. And
Mm,
so I came home on Mother's Day weekend, had a wonderful time celebrating Mother's Day and being home with my family. And then a month later, I found out my husband had been having a relationship with another woman for over a year, and our was marriage was over.
mhm,
And
mm.
so I was really at my truly at my lowest at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And so so that's what I started doing, is how am I going to start my life over? God gave me a new heart.
Yes.
So he must have a plan for me. And so that's how it wasn't as simple as 3 steps at the time,
Right.
because I had to get that, I had to work on my mindset. And so that was stage 1, was developing a growth mindset to conquer fear of change. And so I had to learn to deal with those negative thoughts. And what am I going to do? COVID shut everything down. What are my options? And
Mm-hmm.
step 2, it came about when I had to figure out what am I going to do to earn a living. And that was where I started taking inventory of my superpowers. And my
Mm,
superpowers are my skills and talents
okay.
and character strengths. And so what can I do with all this, that my personal assets and the resources around me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third step was is using those in new ways to find opportunities out there. And so, long story short, this is I found out my superpower is being resilient
Okay.
and finding joy again, and I want to help others uh,
Okay.
go through this process.
So, Laura, could you one more time go over the 3 steps so my
Hmm.
listeners can hear them again? What are those 3 steps? Because some of them write down things and some of them are
Sure,
drive, but just so
sure.
this can help them let them
Sure.
know.
The first step is to develop a growth mindset to
Okay.
conquer change. And step 2 is discover your superpowers to
Hmm.
overcome challenges. And
Okay.
then step 3 is think outside the box to uncover opportunities.
Okay. Okay. Now, this mindset, now, we hear that a lot.
Mhm.
um, Mindset. If you could just change your mindset, your growth
Mhm.
mindset, how, give us some ways that you were able to do that. What are some of the methodologies that you use to have a growth mindset? And I'm assuming a growth mindset is looking beyond your what you're going through. And I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, is that what you define as a growth mindset?
Right. What I describe in this step is there's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And a
Okay.
fixed mindset has a ceiling, and so it's like it's either success or failure.
Hmm.
And because you're limited, you've got limited beliefs. If you didn't, that's why I said it's outcome focused. If you didn't
Okay.
reach your goal, then that means you failed. Whereas a growth mindset is you're focusing more on the journey, so you don't have a ceiling. You see, if you don't reach your goal, it's either success or not yet, I'm still working on it. So you're learning from the mistakes or hiccups along the way. And maybe the outcome you wanted, like in my case, um, I didn't ever expect to be divorced, but
Right.
but having that growth mindset and enjoying the journey, maybe I've got a better outcome. Maybe there's a new path, a new purpose and meaning that is on a different path than the one I'm on. So
Okay.
it just keeps you focused more on the journey and being open to those new opportunities, because once you find your purpose and your meaning, the world just opens up to you,
Mm,
and opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have gone after if
right.
if an obstacle hadn't blocked your path and you had to find another way around it.
Right. That's so true. That's so, it's kind of like when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. Once you're
Hmm.
ready, and that's kind of when the teacher appears. Now, tell us about your book, Flourishing After Adversity. It's not out yet. Is that correct? Or is it
It,
published?
it's in the publishing stage right now. It'll be out
Okay.
next month in November, and I'm excited about it. This is like I said, this journey of my life is kind of new because it's
Hmm.
started 3 years ago,
Right.
so my book is I'm excited about it because I realized I want to keep this process, this framework easy enough because I want people to believe they can do it. If I
Yeah.
did it, I know anybody can because I'm just an ordinary person who's gone through extraordinary things.
Yes.
And I want people to have an action plan because when I was going through this, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? How am I going to do this?
Hmm.
And I don't want people to have to go through extreme hardship to have
Wow.
to finally take these steps. So the framework can be used with any type of challenge, small, medium, large, and so my book was my way of putting it out there. When it comes available, people can get it for free off my website. Just pay
Oh,
shipping and
wow.
handling because that's how important it is. I just want to put this framework in people's hands,
Sure.
because it could be a reference manual too. If you're not going through something, you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
You will. We're all going to go through something
That's
in our
right.
lives, different
That's
degrees, but we will be going through something, and this walks you through the steps. And I designed the book to where I have a little bit of a story about a challenge I went through,
hmm.
and then the concepts that go with that challenge, and then the rest of my story, how it turned out. And then at the end of the chapters is a little exercise, some questions that the
Okay.
reader can apply to their life.
Okay.
So they
Okay.
can read and work and implement as they go, or they, can just read it and think about it and have it available when they do go through a
Wow.
challenge.
Wow. Laura, I'm impressed because you've certainly gotten out of your way. I
It
mean,
took a
what is that?
while, but
Oh,
like I
yeah.
said, we all have choices, right? And I I know you had a guest on this podcast a couple of months ago, that I think her name is Kim DeYoung, the Book of
Hmm.
Choice. And as
Yes.
I was listening to it, going, "Oh my gosh, she's speaking my love language, choices. I
Yes.
love choices."
Yes.
We might not like them at the time, but they're still a choice. If we don't like it, wait a little bit, because we can always count on three things in life, and death, taxes, and change. And because
Yes.
change is constant, and we have to learn to flow, just go with the flow, and
Exactly.
be flexible.
Exactly. So when I was reading, are you a coach, or you just,
Yes. Mhm.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm a resilience coach.
resilience coach. And
Mhm.
so if people wanted to contact you, how would they do
Mhm.
that?
The best way to contact me is through my website, and
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
www.icope2hope.com, and it's ICOPE, the number
Hmm.
two, HOPE.com. I
Okay.
have, on my website, I've also got some blogs. I write a weekly blog, and I have a newsletter, weekly newsletter.
Okay.
And so it's the best way to contact me, and there'll be information about my book on the website as well.
Okay. Okay, great. Make sure to follow that myself so I can get a copy of that book. It sounds
Oh,
exciting.
be happy to send it to you.
Yeah. Um, One other thing is for my listeners who are really ready to move forward in their lives, learn from those experiences and just be able to mitigate those barriers that's preventing them. Do you have like maybe a call to action? Like, what is it that they could do, like when this podcast is over, any advice that you can provide that'll help them move forward that you'd like to
Mhm.
give?
I do have a free resource that they can get. It's on my website,
Okay.
and it's called Three Life Changing Hacks to Disrupt Thinking Traps and Reduce Stress.
Okay.
And I know that was the first, when you're going through difficulty, your mind is just all over the place. You've got
Mhm.
those negative feelings and thoughts, and you just feel like everything is out of your control. And
Yeah.
this free resource, it helps to focus on what's in your control to change, or what you can
Right.
do, and how to a little exercise to help you discover that, and then how to move forward with things that are in your control. And
Okay.
I think, to me, that's the most important step when you're going through hardship, is to acknowledge, I can't do that, but I can do this,
Okay.
and just take baby steps to move forward.
Okay. Okay. Well, great. Well, great. Well, I just want to thank you for being a guest. And I know my listeners out there,
Mm.
if there's something that Laura has said that resonates with you, and you know it will resonate with someone else that you know, please share this with them. And as Laura indicated, you may not be going through anything now, which is God bless you, but
Mm.
live on because you will, but just know that it's not doom and gloom. If look what all that Laura has been through, and look where she is today. And for many of you, I can only imagine, Laura, I usually ask my clients and some of my guests, if I gave you a scale from 1 to 10, and you may have heard me ask Kim this, I'm not quite sure. And 10 is the highest in living your best life. What score would you give yourself today, Laura?
I would confidently give myself a 9,
Mm.
because I have so many things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And like I said, my son just got married this summer,
Mhm.
and I recently found out I'm going to be a nana for the first time. And
Oh, really?
so I am just living the best life right now.
That
I
is
just
amazing.
it is. I'm, I mean, like I said, um, I I've been through some hard things, but I have
Mhm.
so many things to be grateful for, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful every day, and I love finding the joy in life. It is such a pleasure.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. What a great note to end on. And again, everyone, this podcast airs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. And Laura, again, thank you so much. You were a phenomenal guest.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my message.
Absolutely.